Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, and I'm really excited to be here today and talk about feminist leadership. Today, I will talk about a little bit what I think feminist leadership is about, what might be what the definition I am using for feminist leadership. And as the title says, I'm showing you 10 ways or 10 little steps to get more towards that kind of leadership. And I try to explain why I think this is important, not only for females, but especially for the whole communities. And I think this is a feminist leadership is a way of leading, especially important for testing, as we have a role which helps when we speak up and we show diversity to a variety of teams. So I try to explain why I think this is an important topic. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them after the talk. So normally when I give my talks, I am not talking about myself, because when I'm talking, most of the time I'm talking about learning, and I'm talking about learning and testing, learning and requirements, all these kind of things, metacognition. And in these topics, I am really not important. But when I talk about feminism, it seems like I am an issue, because why is someone talking about feminism and inclusion of others in especially in IT? And when you talk about feminism, there's a question: who am I and who am I not? And who am I? I am CEO of Quality Minds. Quality Minds is a testing company or a software company with a big issue in learning, in quality assurance, all these kind of topics. And we try to combine them to make software more efficient, to make it more valuable. I am also a scientist. I have a PhD in educational science, and I really like to get to the bottom of things, talk about different aspects of topic theories and how to get data. And I am a feminist, and I'm really proud to say that. And normally when feminists talk about how they became a feminist, they talk about how their mom brought them along. There's a wonderful book about female with a variety of contributions, for example, Emma Watson, which is called Female First. And they are talking about how their mothers brought them towards feminism. But I am a feminist because of my dad, because my dad was a strong believer in equal rights and that people should connect different opinions and how to make the best out of that, even though it's taking a longer time to share all these opinions. But it's important to see the different views. And this is how he trained me to see the world. And I'm really, really grateful for that. In addition to that, I'm an author. In the last couple of years, I published a variety of books, especially on learning and how learning in organizations work. And I'm a nerd, especially a Marvel nerd, but also in terms of Disney in general. You will see that later on. But as important, who am I, is who am I not? I'm not a really strong tech person. I get an understanding about the processes of tech, but I am not good at coding. I don't hate men. This is, when you talk about feminism, often, especially in Germany, a topic you need to address, because feminists in Germany, especially in Germany, have a very bad reputation. But I'm all for gender equality, and I love men. There's nothing wrong at that point. I have a problem with patriotism and patriarchy. Sorry, and that saying that we have a hierarchy in gender, in races. This is a problem I am really facing. And what I'm not, and I already showed that, I'm not flawless. I make a lot of mistakes, and I try to learn. And like Steve just said, it's about when you make mistakes and you create something new and there's something going wrong, how you create something valuable out of that, and how do you define your learning process. So sometimes I like my flaws. They make me more human. So with that in mind, what brought me, or what do I think, what's feminism about? When we talk about feminism, especially feminism in the early phases of also the last couple of centuries, we talk about feminism a lot about women. So it's how to get equal rights for women and how they can contribute to a society. And especially the first couple of ideas about feminism were very not only women-centered, but also white women-centered. But this is not the definition of feminism I am going for today. I think feminism is inclusive. Feminism is intersectional. Feminism aims to successfully implement equality for everyone. And I think this is a wonderful idea what feminism should all be about. It should be to hear different opinions, to see that there is not only, when you take a look at the wheel of privilege, that these sections are not exclusive, but they can be combined, and they create to a greater lack of privilege. And this is something you need to think about, I think, especially when it comes to leadership, that different lacks of privilege really combine to more of a problem. And it makes a difference, not only, for example, if you are a woman, a white woman, you have more privileges, for example, than a Latina woman or a Black woman. And this is something to consider when we talk how we participate in our society, because the amount of privileges we have also make up for how much we can contribute to our society, how much we are getting listened to, or what kind of changes we are allowed to make. And I think a lot of us know these kind of roles, that we are not allowed to do certain things because of our roles, our gender, what kind of handicaps we have. And this is something I think we need to address, especially when it comes to leadership. Because this is the question we are raising today. What is feminist leadership? Feminist leadership is not really defined. It's not like you can open a couple of books saying, oh yeah, feminist leadership is this or that, and this is really, really easy to go by. Because feminist leadership is something which needs to be defined by us as a group. So it's totally allowed to have different opinions what feminist leadership is, as long as it's inclusive and intersectional, all these things which the feminist idea behind it. But how you live that and what that means for you in which state you're on, this really changes. And what I'm talking about today is not like I can say, oh yeah, I have a perfect definition of feminist leadership and I can tell you how to get there. I can only show what kind of journey we as quality minds are currently on. And we are not at our final goal here. But we are on that journey to become more, especially our leads and all our team members, that we try to enable people to be more feminist leaders, as we think this is very important in terms of how people can contribute. And why is this a topic which is important for Quality Minds? Quality Minds was founded in a couple of months, 11 years ago, as an agile company. So agile leadership is something which is very much into our DNA, that we really like to get a lot of people around the table, being around when we talk about transparency, that we can show what we are doing, why we're doing it, all these kind of things. And for us as Quality Minds, feminist leadership might be a next step. It's not only to get people around the table, but to make them contribute, so that we get as many opinions as possible, that we have the possibility to share, to learn from each other, to have conflicts in that group. And I think conflicts in that term might be something really, really valuable, because it might help innovation and how we can change perspectives, which I think, especially for software projects, and I said it before, we are a software and a testing company, this is a good thing. We want people to share different opinions, because I think it makes our products better. And I think, especially when you're working in Agile, this is what it's all about, to contribute more value to our product. And therefore, having more discussions might be a good thing. And for me, feminist leadership might be that people take more responsibility, stand up for their own opinions, and trying to help each other, getting new ideas into the room, trying new things out. Because how could we try something when we don't know that this is an option? At Quality Minds, this is also important for us because we already have a variety of different nationalities working with us. Also, we are a software company where we have nearly equal between male and female people working with us. And also that's one of the reasons why we really like to go for these kind of topics on diversity, to get even more people on board who like to go for these goals with us. And this brings me to the topics. What did we do in the last couple of years to go towards more feminist leadership? And I said it again, we are not there yet. It's a journey, and we took on that journey, but we also know that sometimes it's a struggle, and sometimes you're doing 1 or 2 steps in one direction and 2 more in the other way around. I choose the Encanto theme for today, because I think when you have watched that movie, it shows a lot of things about feminist leadership, including different views, including different styles on how to address problems. And I think that's what really talked to me when I saw the movie, and I thought this might be a wonderful thing when we talk about diversity and feminism. So the first step you might want to take when it comes to go for more diversity and more feminist leadership is to go for more perspectives, as they help you understand people better. And seeing the world from another person's eye might help you to actually get a first idea where they started from, why this is important to them. And in order to do that, it's also important not only to have these the possibility of more perspectives around the table, but start more conversations and actually listen. And especially the listen part, sometimes it's really hard when it comes to diversity, because some of the stories you hear might not resonate with what you've learned before. So starting more conversations, talking to people about their experience and why they come to a certain conclusion at a certain point helps you to get these ideas and also broaden your own spectrum. And it also offers the possibility for other people to be more open, because when you start a conversation about more important topics and to a variety of persons, after a while you start trusting each other more, because you know more about each other, and this helps for new ideas to evolve. And then therefore the next steps is to go for more transparency and trust. When you share more ideas, more perspectives, this is a natural thing to happen, but also you might want have that in mind, that this is something important, because especially when it comes to feminist leadership and diversity, people have a lot of negative experiences. They learn that sometimes trusting a person might be a bad thing, that they have experienced that they've been spit on, that people disrespect them in projects, all these kind of things. And to trust that other people's stories are true, even if you never experienced them, helps them to be more transparent and to build trust in you, in your company. And that helps also for other people to take responsibility, as they might learn how to react in certain situations. I think giving praise is something we should do more often. We are really good as societies in criticizing each other and saying, oh, this didn't work. And especially in testing communities, hey, of course, this is our job. We are good at finding the little small details box irregularities, which make our software products, unique. But on the other hand, also offering praise to people and doing that more often to all people around you helps them to feel valued and helps them to see what's important, why you think this is an important member to your group. So giving praise more often, but not only to the people around you, but also when you have leadership, offer them some praise, telling them that they are doing a good job, because sometimes we forget that all the people around us are humans, and helping them, understanding what you like about them might also helping foster certain qualities which we like to improve or see more often. This is my favorite picture in the presentation, because someone told me that in Spanish, I think it was Spanish, burro means donkey. And the reduction of bureaucracy, so burro, helps us to get closer to humans. Every time when we increase bureaucracy in our company, we get a little bit further away from the humans within our companies. Therefore, when you go for feminist leadership and you want to put people in the center of all your attention, and I think this is something very, very important when you go for feminist leadership, having everyone being able to be a part of this group and to contribute in the same way, you need to be able to reduce the bureaucracy around it, not to make people equal in terms of processes, because we are humans and we need specific things. So when everyone gets the same thing, which is the term of equality, that might be not the exact thing what someone needs, and therefore we might focus more on equity. But equity normally is not really easy to combine with bureaucracy, which is making standards for everyone to comply with. When you want to go for more feminist leadership, another thing you might want to consider is a change in recruitment, because we have a tendency to recruit the same, what we already know. But when we want to go for more perspectives and we want to have more different kind of conversations, what we already know is not offering that. So if we want to have a diverse company, we need to hire more diversely. And when we want to have feminist leadership, we need people to contribute in that. So how can we change our recruiting? When you talk to other C-levels, often what you hear is, the problem that we only have a couple of female developers will solve itself. Why would it? If you want to have a change in the way you hire, you need to make the effort and do something differently, which means you need to focus on what you have at the moment and what you would like to change. You need to set goals for that and need to change perhaps also your recruiting strategy. Because if you are going to a university and they only have male students or only white students, it's really difficult to get a person of color from an all-white community. So what could we do in terms of recruitment, which is different? So, for example, we could build up educational programs. We can pair as companies with educational programs for female developers, for female testers. There are wonderful communities around supporting people with different perspectives in terms of development, operations, testing, and work with these people and recruit out of these communities in order to change the people we already have in our teams and in our communities. Another thing we might want to consider is to look for allies. When we want more feminist leadership, we need to find other people which also think this is a valuable thing. And when you go for for when you want to change something in your company, and you go only with the people with which are very, very similar to you, it's more difficult. So if I want to go for more female people in development, I can't only go with the people who are already female in our development department. I need to consider finding people who also think this is important to our company and find them as allies. This is important for two things. For one thing, of course, it makes us stronger, it gives us a louder voice, gets different opinions into the room, why this is important and what will you think, why we should do that. But the other thing is for the person who is pushing for more feminist leadership, you get a more non-biased feedback. As a woman, I know that sometimes I get feedback which is not considered on what I'm talking about, but basically on my gender. And this is a really, really weird feeling. So what I want is getting feedback on what I'm talking about. And this is really helpful if I can trust that this is something which is actually happening. So that I know that I have an ally on my side, which is helping me really focusing on what I'm talking about and giving me feedback on that, instead of also that I have to consider, oh, this might be a gender thing we're actually talking about. So having allies with you, giving you feedback, pushing you, stepping in or to your side when something is going wrong is just extremely valuable. And I'm really, really grateful, especially for a lot of men at my side, helping me to focus on a course as for feminist leadership. Another thing which I can't stretch enough is the joy of experimenting and learning. We learn how we communicate, we learn how to see different perspectives, and having the joy at experimentation is very important when you don't know where you're actually going. We know that feminist leadership is a high goal, and it's difficult. And I said it before, sometimes you are taking 2 steps in one direction and 3 in another. But having joy at doing these experiments, trying new recruiting strategies, trying new partnerships, all these things, and getting an idea afterwards, what we learn from that is fun. And it helps us to get more ideas into the room. So it's basically more interactive, and it itself helps to go for this goal. And also one thing is you need to define, when you want to go for more feminist leadership, perhaps in your development team or in your testing group or in your company, you need to find what that means, what the feminist leadership means on your for your own company or for your own team. It's not like other people can tell you, oh, this will be this or that. It's just a guideline, and you need to figure out how you can make it work, how you can make people contribute, what you need to do, what's your role in that process. And also perhaps at what point you need to step back a little bit, because also this might be something really important. That you, perhaps in my role as a C-level, sometimes I can't contribute as much as I'm used to, and I need to learn to be more quiet, to be more calmed down, to have other people have the room I'm normally using, or the room I'm normally used to fill. So also this is something you need when you talk about definition. You need to be open about. You need to trust people to give you actual feedback. And perhaps this is one of the strongest points when you want to go for feminist leadership, is that you need to accept that you will make mistakes. We all know that. I think most of you will be or are working as testers. So we know that we make mistakes all the time. And this is a normal thing and a valuable thing, especially when it comes to learning, even though I'm really convinced that we also might even learn more from our successes, but we learn from our mistakes. But we also need to accept that we will make mistakes, that we will use words which are not as integrational as we hope for, that we make mistakes in wording, in action, that some parts of us might have a negative impact on society or on marginalized groups. And knowing that and accepting that makes it easier, because then it opens the way to say, hey, yeah, I know I made a mistake. I'm sorry about that, but I want to improve. And I think this is for me, one of the most important points on feminist leadership, always having in mind that I want to improve, that I want to be more integrational, that I want to be having more people contribute to the things we do. So I think that feminist leadership is something we need to talk about as societies. This is something we need to talk about as teams and companies, as it might help us to get more views involved in our software, in the way we work. And I like to get more ideas in the room, as I think this makes the way we work, the way we live as a society, I think it makes it better. It makes it more valuable for all of us. And feminist leadership is not only for female, but it's for everyone who wants to contribute, who wants to listen or be listened to. And I think having all these different ideas and opinions in the room is extremely valuable. As there is no real definition going around how to do that, I only can advise you or ask you to just try it. If this is something you think, hey, this might be something for my team to have as an experience under their belt, just do it. Try how it works for you, what works for you. Try to reflect on it. Use some methods, from perhaps your Scrum frameworks, like a retrospective on how to do it, do a postmortem on certain things, give each other feedback, and be open about it. So I think it's a wonderful journey to go to, and I learned a lot over the couple of years. So thank you very much.
Vera, thank you so much for this beautiful presentation and this thought-provoking also ideas. So we are, always it's so important to know and learn these kinds of valuable things, because we are so heavily investing, and also we are so into our technical stuff. We also in this conference talked nearly all about the technical stuff, and therefore listening and learning about those kinds of aspects helps all of us going through a more equal, more powerful leadership as men and women also. So if you have any questions, so we have one question from the chat. Thank you for your great presentation. How can we explain the benefits of female leadership in a male-dominated company? How can we influence decision makers?
There are different ways to do that, and I'm not saying all of them work, and some of them might work on your male surroundings. Others might not. There are a couple of things which we tried, which were helpful for us. One thing were to show what happens if we are not doing it. So when you see, for example, crash test dummies for car companies, we know that most of the crash dummies are basically, when they should be female, they are smaller male versions. I am not a small male. From a variety of things, my body structure seems differently. Also, the way I move is different. But the crash test dummies are male and small male, which leads to that the amount of lethal injuries after car accidents is much higher than male injuries. So when we are not focusing on more diverse aspects of our work, and we know also a variety of examples where that happens in software, actually it might kill people. So talking about the results when we are not considering different opinions, and I think one of the aspects where I learned that, especially in software testing, is when a team of all white male are taking, for example, registration aspects on how names should look. Sometimes we have some aspects, especially for when you're going to fly, you have to have at least 4 letters as a surname. In an all European team, this is nothing to consider because, yeah, most of our surnames have more than 4 or 5 letters, some are a lot longer. When you go to Asia, that makes really a difference because they have a lot of surnames which are very, very short and only 2 letters. So people can't fly because they can't access your site. And this is a term of diversity, because when you would have someone from a foreign country in your team, that bug would never happen. And this is a bug in production. So this might be one aspect how to address this issue, to show what are the results of more diverse teams. Another thing which I really like to do is talking in bigger groups of marginalized groups and the lack of privileges. It is really, really hard to listen to people with less privileges than you have, because sometimes you can't consider what that really means. We have a colleague which is from India, and when she talks about her daily lives and how that difference from us, that made us speechless, and we really wanted to improve her everyday life. And also that might be something to raise awareness, what it means to be in a more marginalized group, what it means not to be listened to have a handicap in whatever form, all these kind of things. Talking about that and raising awareness. So a partner company of us, they made a day where they talked about privileges and, for example, the wheel of privilege, just to show, hey, we need to raise awareness of privileges and which kind of privileges you have and which we don't have. I remember being at a dinner party, big event in one of the cities we have an office in, and it was a C-level dinner, so most of the people around there were male. And what they did is they placed one female person on each table, and at each table. And when we addressed that this is not nice for a woman to be at only one woman at a table with 6 or 7 men, basically we were so proud that we had one woman at each table. I am not a flower. And the woman at that conference really addressed that this is not a cool thing to do. So we raised awareness and we spoke out, sometimes raising awareness that how it feels for you to be treated in a certain way starts raising awareness, and you try to find allies.
And if you have time,
yes,
I also want to ask a question to Vera.
Yes, please.
So Vera, hello.
Hello.
And nice to meet you, and it was a very nice and interesting subject. So thank you for your session. While I'm listening to you, my mind went back to my Germany days. I spent there more than 3 years in several different cities where I was doing testing, and our teams were fully men oriented. But yeah, maybe for most of you guys living in Western Europe, maybe you see our country as a more masculine place, especially when the subject is engineering or those hardcore things. But to frankly speaking, for instance, in our company, we do have more women than men, and those people are test engineers. What I see in Turkey is, for instance, I see lots of female leaders in QA and testing zone, and also a lot of women in this discipline. So I would say, if the place is Turkey, I would say that we don't have this problem in software testing and quality assurance part. Maybe with so many other industries, we do have it in a very harsh way. But yeah, for instance, when I was in Holland, the Netherlands, I have delivered lots of trainings there for the last years, and all the people were men, maybe 95%. It was for me interesting. I want to ask you, as a person coming from that side of the world, so how is the situation in testing and QA area?
Testing for me is very, very special. And I agree with you. Testing is this discipline which I find most marginalized groups. More female, more people of color. This is my experience especially when going to dev conferences. I remember being at when I go to a testing conference, and I do a lot of Ministry of Testing things. I'm doing at ATD. So testing is basically, I love testers. You are awesome. When I go to testing conference, I am always around allies. There are a lot of women in the room. I'm barely alone. When I go to dev conferences, basically I am alien. I remember being at the EclipseCon, and it was my mistake. I was wearing a red dress, and basically this was a warning sign to everyone: no one talk to me. One thing I really like to consider, and I'm not sure how that is in your country, but in a lot of the more European countries, so Central Europe, Germany, the amount of payment which goes to dev and which goes to testing varies. So a quality engineer normally makes less money than a developer. I'm not sure how that is in your country.
Improving, but still there is gap.
So what we still do is we have the more recognized position, being a dev, being whatever position there is, and we are paying them more than we do testing. And so the positions which are paid less are still taken on by females. And this is something I really want to think about, and because I love that there are more women in test, but there are reasons why that's this way, and there are also a lot of reasons why there are not more women in development, because often it's a boys' club, and it's not nice for a woman to go into a boys' club and to deal with that.
Do you think it is because of that? By the way, this is very critical. This is the critical zone. I'm really curious about it. Why women are not that much into development? Is it because that is it a boys' club, or is it maybe they do not prefer it? Maybe, for instance, babysitting is not for many men. Do not do babysitting. For instance.
Me neither. I'm really not into babysitting. I'm not getting
sure. I'm just trying to ask you this side. Maybe
I get that.
Some jobs or roles, maybe we feel that it is not for us. Is it because is it women's club or boys' club, or some other things may be there?
It's not easy to answer, because I see a correlation. I'm not seeing the causality. The scientist in me is not saying, oh, I can answer that directly. And this is something which is really important. But what I know from studies is that in domains which were male beforehand, where more women shift in, normally men tend to go out of them and try to find new domains with more money. This is one thing which there's research indicating that. Another thing which I know from the country I'm living in, we tend to focus women to be warm and to be fuzzy and all these kind of things, while we think men are more logical. There's no proof for that, but this is something we already tried to tell students in school, that we tell them, oh, a man is a certain way and a woman is a certain way. And if a woman is not warm and fuzzy, there are retributions towards her. So if a woman is a certain way and is not very too much into babysitting, normally this is not considered to be a good thing, because basically she's a little bit weird. So me outing myself that I'm a weirdo, it's totally fine with me. But there is a whole cultural aspect on how women work in tech, which have a huge impact on how women see themselves. So it's more, I know a lot of women saying, oh yeah, I want to do front end. Myself, I really like the back end. I'm all back end girl, and I really like operations. But this is unusual because women are supposed to like the shiny stuff. And that doesn't seem to be something in our brains. Why would women like pink things and shiny stuff? But it seems to be cultural. So it's always a correlation, not a causality.
Yeah, it is a very deep subject. I agree. I think most of the things comes from sociology. So yes, the bias in between yes, people, telling them that, yeah, if you cook, you are a woman. If you fight, you are a guy, or whatever. Yeah. So I think, yeah, we need to, and cultural shift, I think you also agree, doesn't happen very quickly.
No.
And yeah, we hope that there are people like you more and more to talk about these subjects, so that, yeah, we will be at least having a pure view on any person that we came across, so that we don't judge people by their gender or their geographical position or those things. I think most of us, I think maybe many of us, each of the people here would learn from this presentation. We need to also do a paradigm shift. Maybe we are not aware of it, but we are full of biases also. Yes. So we need to open our mind for that. Thank you for this enlightening session. I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much for your kind words.
Thank you so much.